From Log Cabin to Legacy, The Remarkable Journey of Abraham Lincoln. Listen Up English presents, Hello dear friends, and welcome to another inspiring biography where you'll improve your English while learning from the life of one of history's most respected figures. Today we're exploring the unforgettable journey of Abraham Lincoln, a man who rose from poverty and heartbreak to become one of the most influential leaders the world has ever known. Lincoln's story is not just a history lesson, it's a lesson in perseverance, courage, compassion, and leadership. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Early life in poverty. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin in Hodgenville, Kentucky. He was the second child of Thomas and Nancy Lincoln, poor farmers who lived a hard life. There was no luxury, just a single-room cabin, basic food, and endless labor. Lincoln's childhood was full of challenges. His family moved several times, trying to find better opportunities. Life in the American frontier was harsh. Young Abraham helped on the farm from an early age, chopping wood, carrying water, and working in the fields. But there was something special about him. He was curious and hungry to learn. He had little access to schools, and formal education was nearly impossible. But Abraham loved to read. He borrowed books, read the Bible, fables, and any material he could find. He often walked miles just to borrow a book, and stayed up late reading by candlelight after long days of physical labor. At age 9, tragedy struck when his mother, Nancy, died of milk sickness, caused by drinking milk from cows that ate poisonous plants. It was a crushing loss. Soon after, his father married Sarah Bush Johnston, who became a loving and supportive stepmother. She saw Abraham's potential and encouraged his learning. She brought warmth and emotional stability into the home, which helped young Lincoln continue growing through difficult times. Searching for purpose. In his early 20s, Abraham began to search for a new life beyond the farm. Around 1831, he moved to New Salem, Illinois, where he worked various jobs as a store clerk, rail splitter, postmaster, and surveyor. He was known for his honesty and humor, gaining the respect of the townspeople. During this time, he formed a close bond with a young woman named Anne Rutledge. Their relationship was believed to be romantic, and many thought they would marry. However, Anne died suddenly in 1835, leaving Lincoln devastated. He fell into deep depression, a struggle he faced multiple times throughout his life. Yet even in pain, Lincoln never lost his inner drive. He realized that life was filled with sorrow, but that sorrow could become strength. He began speaking more publicly, developing his confidence and voice. The path to politics. Abraham's interest in public service began to grow. In 1832, he ran for the Illinois state legislature. Though he lost that first election, he didn't let the defeat define him. 2 years later, in 1834, he tried again and won. While working in politics, Lincoln also decided to study law. With no access to law school, he taught himself, reading legal texts late into the night and practicing with mentors. By 1836, he passed the bar exam and became a licensed attorney. He moved to Springfield, where he built a successful legal career known for defending people with honesty and integrity. Lincoln earned the nickname Honest Abe, not just for his work in law, but because of his moral compass. People trusted him, not just as a lawyer or politician, but as a person who stood up for what was right, speaking out against slavery. By the 1850s, slavery had become the most divisive issue in America. While some tried to stay silent, Lincoln could not. He believed slavery was wrong, morally and legally, and he used his growing voice to speak out. In 1858, he ran for U.S. Senate against Stephen A. Douglas. Though he lost the election, their Lincoln-Douglas debates made him a national figure. He famously declared, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." These words meant that the country couldn't survive being half slave and half free. Lincoln knew the future of the nation depended on equality and unity. Presidency and Civil War. In 1860, Lincoln ran for President of the United States as the candidate of the new Republican Party, which opposed the expansion of slavery. Despite fierce opposition from the South, he won the election and became the 16th president. The South was outraged. Believing Lincoln would destroy their way of life, 7 southern states seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. In April 1861, the Civil War began, a bloody 4-year conflict that would test Lincoln and the entire nation. As commander-in-chief, Lincoln faced enormous pressure. Thousands of soldiers died, and the country seemed on the verge of collapse. Yet Lincoln never gave up. He visited troops, studied battle strategies, and made bold decisions. The Gettysburg Address and Emancipation. In 1863, after the brutal Battle of Gettysburg, Lincoln delivered one of the most iconic speeches in history, the Gettysburg Address. In just 272 words, he reminded Americans of their shared purpose, that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. That same year, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in the Confederate States. This shifted the war's goal, not just to save the Union, but to fight for freedom and human dignity. While the proclamation didn't end slavery entirely, it was a turning point. Lincoln then pushed for the 13th Amendment, which would make slavery illegal across the entire country. It passed in 1865, shortly before the war ended. Personal grief and leadership. While leading the nation through war, Lincoln was also suffering personally. In 1862, his beloved son Willie died from illness at just 11 years old. This broke Lincoln's heart, and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, was overwhelmed with grief. Still, Lincoln carried the weight of the presidency. He believed in healing, not revenge. He said, "With malice toward none, with charity for all." His empathy was rare in politics. He showed that true leadership comes not from power, but from compassion and wisdom. Victory and tragic end. By early 1865, the Union was winning. On April 9, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. The war was over. Lincoln had done what many thought impossible. He had saved the Union and paved the way for a new beginning. But joy quickly turned to sorrow. Just 5 days later, on April 14th, Lincoln was assassinated while watching a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. He died the next morning, becoming the first U.S. president to be assassinated. The entire country mourned. People wept in the streets. Even in death, Lincoln united a grieving nation. Legacy that still lives. Lincoln's dream of a united and free America lived on. The Lincoln Memorial, completed in 1922, stands tall in Washington, D.C., a tribute to his courage and belief in human equality. Inside, a massive statue of Lincoln watches over the city, and the words of the Gettysburg Address are etched in stone. Abraham Lincoln is more than just a figure in textbooks. His values continue to guide people across the world. He proved that anyone, no matter their background, can rise, inspire, and lead with integrity. What can we learn from Lincoln? Start small. Think big. Lincoln began in a log cabin with no money, but built a life through self-education and effort. Face failure with courage. He lost elections, struggled with depression, and faced rejection, but kept going. Lead with empathy. Even in war, Lincoln sought unity and understanding. Stand for what is right. Even when unpopular, he fought for justice and equality. He once said, "My concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure." Lincoln taught us that greatness isn't about perfection. It's about persistence, purpose, and staying true to your values. Thank you for listening to this incredible story. What kind of legacy will you leave? Will you give up after your first failure, or keep moving like Lincoln did? Remember, your beginnings don't define you. Your choices do.